Yeah.
From the get-go, this station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. Overview Radio bring you Overview Podcast. It's been a while, man. We're back with a very special episode. And this one is a special episode, man. It's a Valentine's special episode. You know, we saw it fit to invite people who can come through and then talk to us about Valentine, marato, relationships, manyalo, hela yalo, but most importantly, rato in general. Introducing my guests to you guys. Should I use that one or that one? Away. Yeah, introducing my guests to you guys. They are a familiar. Okay, since they are one, let me just say a familiar face, because I got familiar faces. Since they are joined together by the bond of marriage and God and all that, they are a familiar face. You know, we've seen them around. You know, they are ke moruti le mma moruti ka Setswana. You know, please welcome Pastor and what's the? I get it like it's Mr. and Mrs. So what's the female word for
It's also Pastor.
Oh, it's also Pastor.
Yeah, Pastor Shaz.
Oh, okay. Okay, help me welcome pastors, the Mogokgwanes. Yeah, I think you guys should do some sort of a reality show and then so the Mogokgwanes and all that. Don't you guys think?
We will. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, welcome them to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
How do they address you guys mostly? I mean, is it Pastor or Mr. or Mrs.? I mean, especially Halemo.
Well, they just call me Pastor Mogokgwane,
Hey.
and they call her Pastor Shaz.
Oh, Pastor
from
Shaz.
Sharon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
From Sharon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Going
okay.
Pastor Shaz.
Yes.
But a lot of people still say Mamuruti, so that's also welcome. I was Mamuruti for a long time. I
Yeah.
was ordained, so
Oh, yeah.
yeah. it's
So
cool.
the question that in like, I mean, people's minds, how does it feel like to be a Mamuruti?
Well, by now I've been a Mamuruti. This May it will be 22 years.
22 years.
Yeah, so it's like now it's just second nature. It's a calling. It's a calling. It's not easy, but because my husband is such a great husband, he made it easy for me. I haven't had a lot of drama in terms of with congregants or no. I think it's because my husband just protects me in the home front. Like I also don't have a drama with in-laws. With church, he also protects me. And I also follow my call. I follow God's leading. So I think the people know who I am. They know what my place is. I do take my place. And yeah, I guess I'm led like anyone is led in any call that they're in.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier on there that being a Mamuruti is a calling.
Yes.
We know that being a pastor is a calling.
Yeah.
So are you saying that as a pastor, one cannot just marry anyone? Like, you have to be called to be a Mamuruti?
You know, I think that, as we conform to the will of God as his children, Romans 12:2 says that when we are renewed in our mind and we conform to his will, we will know his good, his pleasing, and his perfect will. So you can choose as a person. You know that God is a God of free will.
Okay.
So you can choose whether you just go for the good but I think if you go for the perfect, you'll probably, if you are led by God, if you are following him, you are allowing him to lead you, you'll probably, meet up with a person who is actually called themselves.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know growing up that I would be a pastor eventually, but I was an active young person in the things of God. I loved God. I got born again when I was 14 years old, and I think that when I got born again, I just like fell into my own, into my identity, who I was meant to be.
Yeah.
So I was very diligent. I think I was different in that way from other young people. I was very diligent in the things of God. I even preached my first sermon at 14.
Interesting.
But I didn't, because
Yeah.
I didn't even want to marry a pastor.
Okay.
I didn't. I mean, I saw pastors, I saw them as struggling people. I saw them as, so I didn't want that struggle.
Yeah.
I wanted to, and I had that drive, of getting my career going. So, but eventually, as I married him, God used my marriage and him to know that I'm actually called to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ladies first pastor. That's why we had to start with her. But yeah, no,
Sure.
the hierarchy, no. I mean, yeah, as Rayleigh in the lead and all that. Welcome to the show once again, sir.
Thank you, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Let's talk about you becoming a pastor now. How did that come about?
Yeah, I was born again in 1992.
In 1992.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
was,
been
I was doing
33 years now.
Yeah, 33 years, right?
Yeah.
Were you even born?
No, like that's my age. That's how I know. That's how I know it so precisely.
Oh yeah, that's how you are so quick.
Yeah, I was born in 92. Yeah, so like that's my lifetime. No, that's
So
my
it was on the
lifetime.
25th of August, 1992.
Okay, I was how many months? 4 months.
4 months, yeah.
4 or 5 months.
So I was doing Form 4 then.
Okay.
At Cheshire River School. And so it was a revolution in my life. Yeah, I just became alive inside.
Okay.
Yeah, I became aware of myself in many ways. And the following year, obviously, I was doing Form 5, did my Form 5, and then went to Tirelos Chaba.
Tears.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was while I was in Tirelos Chaba that I began to know that God actually was calling me for something deeper, to be a pastor. But I had done so well in my Form 5. I was already admitted at university before before we wrote the final Form 5 exams.
Yeah.
They used to do that. They had a thing called pre-entry science course for science students.
Yeah.
So I negotiated with God. I said, let me become an engineer, make money. When I've made money and I'm rich, I'll go and become a pastor.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I would say
did
that.
he listen?
Yeah?
Like, did he give you the way?
No, he kept quiet.
Oh,
He knew what he was going to do. Obviously, I was still selfish. I was thinking just about myself. Because, I mean, there was a drive for us to help our parents, in their struggle. I'm from a single parent home. My mother was struggling. I was the firstborn. So I obviously wanted to help her, with projects at home. I have a younger brother and a sister. So it was natural. So probably in my mind and my spirit, I was not ready. But God knew how he was going to work in my heart until I'm ready.
Yeah. So you got into ministry,
Okay, this is what happened. Then 95, I went to University of Botswana to do sciences.
Yeah.
And then 96, I was taken by Botswana. And 97, they sent me to Johannesburg to study electrical engineering.
Okay.
And that's where, really, I began to lose interest in my career choices and money and material things and stuff. So I was struggling with God. I was fighting because all of my life I wanted to make it, financial, but I was losing interest slowly but surely. Yeah, and then in 98 I met her. That is 27 years ago. How many years ago? Yeah. So I met her in 98. While I was studying electrical engineering.
28 years ago this year.
Yeah?
28
It
years
is going to
ago
be
this
28
year.
years. Yes. So I was doing electrical engineering and she was doing food science.
Oh no, like 27 years ago.
Yeah.
Food science.
Yes. Yeah. So that's when we met and then just became friends because we were attending Christian Union together.
Oh, you were friends before?
Yeah, we're just friends.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Besties.
Yeah, actually, the story behind
Male and
it.
female besties.
Yeah, no, not really.
Not besties.
Yeah,
but
this is how it happened.
Okay, yeah.
When we were in Joburg, we were staying in a hotel, and she was staying in a res. Her res was close to the campus, to the university.
Okay.
So because CU used to be attended at night in the evenings, and Joburg was dangerous, we will walk them. It was a group of guys from Botswana and girls from South Africa. So we'll walk them by the rest, make sure they are safe, and then we'll pass and go to our hotel.
Okay.
So we just developed friendship from that.
Okay.
And before that, I had complained to the Lord before she arrived that God, I have many friends that are good Christian girls.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to just date and have exes, many exes.
Yeah.
So I wanted the person I date to be my wife. So I was complaining with God. I have many friends, but you're not pointing out who is going to be my wife.
Yeah.
And the way God answered me was actually very interesting.
Okay, tell us about it.
I had a Bible by the side of my bed. I had a Bible by the side of my bed. So one day as I was lying down and complaining to God that I'm growing and there's no one that you have shown me. He said, pick your Bible, close your eyes and pick your Bible. I closed my eyes, picked my Bible, it was there. And because I was lying down, I put it out there. And then he says, open it.
Yeah.
While your eyes are closed. So I opened the Bible and he said, flip 5 pages back.
Okay.
And then I did 1, 2. I was making sure that until the 5th. Now, you know that the Bible has got 2 sections on this side and 2 sections on the side.
Yeah.
And then while my eyes were closed, he told me where to look. It was the 2nd page and the last section right in the middle.
Okay.
And when I opened my eyes, right there was the title, There is Time for Everything. So, I felt like a spear went right through my heart. I said, Lord, I repent. I'll never bother you about this.
So by that time you were single?
I was single.
Uh-huh.
I became born again when I was 17, I think.
Okay.
I never dated anyone because I wanted to date somebody who's going to become my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was really desperate for God to tell me who.
Yeah.
And so after that, I said, I'm never going to ask you about this. So when she came the following year, I was not looking.
Okay.
I was at a place where I'm like, I'm not looking anymore. Yeah.
Okay. How did she come along?
Well, she, like I said, the following year, then she came in, and at the university, when new students come, they come to Christian Union.
Yeah.
And then they introduce themselves. I saw her there, but nothing really clicked.
Yeah.
And because of the friendship that I was talking about earlier, we got to know them as a group, and then we developed friendship over time.
Okay.
Yeah. That was at the beginning of 1998.
Okay.
And then we just developed friendship, and, we'll see each other, visit each other at campus.
Yeah.
And then...
so by that time, you're not feeling anything?
No, I wasn't.
Were you not feeling anything for him that time?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I remember what God had done to me.
Okay.
It was really cruel what God
So
did to
no
me.
ideas, no funny stories?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But then on my birthday, because, she's always grown up valuing birthdays in her family. Yeah. So she took me out to Eastgate at Space. Just friends.
Was it just as a friend?
It was just as a friend. Well, I guess by then we were becoming closer.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
before that,
Yeah.
I had taken her out during a lunch break at campus.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a muchachos just by the corner of the campus.
Yeah.
So I just said, let's go and have lunch. And we played snooker there. Me
Like
and
with
her.
her?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but there was nothing. We were just friends. We played snooker there. So I think, I don't know, a month later or so, that's when she said, let me take you out for your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And had a 3-course meal.
Yeah. So you already started to develop something, right? Admit it.
We were just close friends.
Oh,
I can't,
okay.
in those days,
Yeah.
a girl would never, it wasn't common for you to approach a guy, and so
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't dare.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to be that girl.
Okay.
Plus, the Christianity then was very strict. That is why I had decided that I will not date until I'm sure this is my wife. You understand?
Yeah.
So very, very strict. So there was no funny. You're not just catching feelings, and then you want a relationship.
Yeah.
You will pray about it. You will suffer inside the feelings, until God kind of gives you a green light.
Okay, so now the birthday date happens.
Yeah.
And then from there what?
That's when we started talking. I remember, because we were still getting to know each other. Because
Still in 98.
98
okay.
on May the 25th.
Yeah, on May.
To this day, I take it as our anniversary in a way.
Okay.
It was on my birthday. So I remember, because that's why I'm saying we're not yet dating. I remember there were lots of people. She was talking loud, and I couldn't tell her, please. I was still afraid. I wanted her to, but I couldn't tell her because I was still getting to know each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it was after that, because then I went back to Botswana for my internship at Botswana. I was with Botswana and Johnny.
Okay.
When I was back in Botswana, that's when the light came. That's the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what did you do after? We'd like to.
Yeah, we started
Tell
calling
my
each
liver.
other.
Okay.
Yeah, we started calling.
Yeah.
During those times, I think cell phones were not yet popular.
Oh.
So I used to go to the coin thing and
Yeah,
call,
yeah,
and
the
she would
public
call,
phone.
and we wrote letters to each other, send cards. I'll send maybe 5 letters before her reply comes, and the same. Yeah, it was really amazing.
Okay, was it Nele to the build up towards the relationship? Only Lele, they call it we call it Posha kana Posha. Or kana single si itirile ntse le bua kana, did you ask her out or mara hey to Thailand get that.
Women are incredibly good with details. Maybe that one she must answer.
Hey.
Oh my word. Like 27 years ago.
Pastor Shaz. Yeah, listen.
I think you actually did. I think he asked me out before he left for Botswana.
Or before you left for Botswana?
Yes. Actually, what happened is that you know, like in SU, we're a group of a lot of friends.
Yeah.
So there was another group of friends of girls that he knew before I came. So I think in telling me, he was actually telling me that there was a girl who had come the day before, because he had mentioned, I think, to them that there's someone that he thinks is now the girlfriend that he must approach.
Yeah.
So that girl came to find out if it's her.
Yeah.
So
the other girl came out. Oh,
yes.
okay.
So that is how he explained it, that, you know. But
yeah.
and then he told me that, but I'm actually
Was
the
he
girl.
a catch?
Yes. Yes. One more, like, he still is.
The hunk.
So like you were hoping that in no way. Right?
She was an extremely decent girl, eh? I must
Yeah.
say, like, she was those pure Assemblies of God girls who'd never dare, like, make a move or anything. But, like, she's a very righteous person up to this day.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, very righteous.
Okay, before we move on, I'd like to hear this from both of you. Starting with you, say. But I feel like your answer will influence me. Let me start with her. Can a boy and a girl, can a man and a woman be, okay, like let me say a man and a woman be friends platonically? Buddies.
Yes, I think so.
Not a boy and a girl. I get like a boy and a girl, this and that, but a man and a woman.
A man and a woman.
Yeah, let's say 21, 20, you know, like can they become?
I think so. You know, I just think that it's unfortunate that we don't give our young people or our children, let me say, like enough training to relate in purity. I think it's very important to know that children must be taught from a young age. You must let them, you know, kids can get along from a very young age. It has happened that, you know, even kids who met as like 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds, that they marry each other.
Yeah.
But they were just friends and it's just pure like that. But I think if we teach our young boys and girls that, you know, you can just be pure. Explain to them what sexuality is, you know, what feelings may arise, but how it needs to be under control. It's something that comes, but it must be put under control. And that there's a purpose in everything. If you relate in a deeper way with a person, there must be a purpose with it. What do you want out of it? Do you want marriage? Do you want a child? Do you know? So, but if we treat them that they can be pure, I think they can. If they've got that clear in their minds that we can relate in purity, I think it's possible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sir?
Yeah, it's very possible. It's very sad that sin has corrupted us.
Yeah.
It's very possible to have a pure relationship between a man and a woman. It's just that because we are so broken, when you see somebody who understands you, who loves you, who we always want to turn it into. Actually, a lot of good relationships have been totally spoiled by introducing the romance into them. Lots of So it is very, very much possible. It's just that our brokenness does not always allow that.
You said earlier on that you became born again when you were 17.
Yeah,
and you
92.
waited.
Yeah.
And so are you saying that she was your first?
Yes, she was. After I became a Christian.
Or after?
Before.
Before you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, when I was born again, I had 3 girlfriends.
Hey, man. Hey, man.
In different places. Yeah.
In different places.
Yeah.
Hey, man. But. Since what I said, Pokoja in Kalata. So yeah, maybe like the trait is sensibility.
No, not really. Look, God has worked a lot in my heart.
Okay.
Since then.
Yeah, like the circumcised your
Like
heart.
I realized that I was really broken. I had rejection issues. Those who listen to my teachings, they will hear rejection issues. You know, when you have rejection issues, you can either withdraw from people or perform. Try to impress people by the way you do things so that they like you. Or you may comply with the demands of other people. Try to please people.
Yeah.
You are not honest with how you feel about yourself. Or you may even go worse and start criticizing everyone because you are hurt. You want to hurt others.
Yeah.
So unless you go through a time of healing, you know, a lot of things may not go well with you.
Was he your first?
Yes, I also I dated before I got born again.
Okay.
I also dated. You know that early dating, yeah, with 13 years there.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
that
yes.
one.
But I can say my proper and real boyfriend, yeah.
It's him.
Yes,
Hey, man. What is your age difference?
it's 4.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so like you are actually peers.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, okay, you guys were together for okay, and hey, he says he was looking for a wife. I
Yeah.
get. Were you looking for a husband?
No, I wasn't looking for a husband.
Okay.
But I knew that when I started, I was 18, imagine, hey?
Oh, you were
Those days we
18.
thought about marriage when we were 18.
Okay.
I was 18 when we started dating. Yeah.
Okay. Does age matter? I mean, a relationship, sir. Is age a factor?
It can be a factor.
Yeah.
It depends on maturity. I think the most important thing is how mature is a person. Have they, like, she had to mature very quickly. She lost her mom when she was 13, 14, and
So sad.
she was the only girl. She had lost her sister a year before.
2 years, yeah.
So she was like the girl. She has an older brother my age and a father. So she was like the one who had to take care of everything. So she was, for an 18-year-old, she was incredibly mature when I met with her. She knew what she wanted. She was not playing around. She had a proper vision of where she wanted to go. So for me, it's about maturity more than age, as a factor.
Yeah.
There are lots of 40-year-olds who act like 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
We know
And
that.
that's the sad
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
So for me, maturity is the most important thing.
Yeah. But we dated for a long time. We
Yeah.
dated for 5 years.
Oh, for 5 years.
Because,
Yeah.
he didn't finish how he then became a pastor.
Oh.
So when he came back to Botswana for his attachment, it was like from June to December. That's when he came for his
98.
attachment. But then that is when he cancelled his contract with De Beers because then he wanted to go to Bible school. The call thing was really burning in him. So in '99 he went to Bible school at Hatfield Christian Church in Pretoria. So I mean, obviously then we're not going to get married soon. I was in Joburg now, Pretoria at 60 kilometers apart, and also in first year they were actually not allowed to date. But because of his age, he was slightly older than the other first years, so he had to get permission from his Bible school leader and his flock leader, the pastor who was in charge of them. So I would come visit on permission. So it was a very controlled environment, but which helped us a lot. When I would visit him, I would go to the girls' res, and he would be the guys at Bible school. Yeah, so yes.
Seems like your relationship was strong by challenges from the beginning, like the distance, and then your calling is coming and you have to quit. There's for Bible school. I mean, there's the money factor now. How were you so confident that she would stick around?
Hey, she was in love, eh?
More especially that she was 16.
Hey, she was in love. The girl was in love. The girl was in love. We were talking all the time. Plus, she was a trustworthy person, Yeah, she had proved that she's the kind of person who, once she's committed to something, she will be in it. I never for once doubted her. Never. Yeah.
But it did, like you say, that the money factor. It did, because as the relation grows, you want. Because then I even completed my studies, and I started working, and then he moved back to Botswana. He did Bible school from '99, May 2002. He moved and he was posted in Tsabong.
Heaven.
Yeah. So that was like now put
Tsabong Joburg.
Yes. It's like, how are you going to do this now?
You started working.
Yeah.
Before him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It was part of my attachment, but I was getting paid and that. Yeah, but I started working. By the time I got married, I was working permanently.
So say you were posted Kotsabong as what? As a pastor.
As a pastor, full time.
Or as a pastor.
From 2002, I've been a pastor full time since 2002.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So when did you get married now?
2003 May.
2003 May.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it didn't. God is good, hey. So that pressure was on. Like I would ask him, "You are too far away now. We used to miss each other like dearly, and how are we gonna do this?" And he didn't know. He was earning 2,000 pula as a pastor.
Yeah.
Back then in El
Back then.
like I mean average I think Bobo guy.
I don't know.
Or 5, 10 maybe, or
Maybe for 4.
over
Hi.
4,000.
Yeah, in terms of value. Yeah.
And you know, South African lobola is expensive.
Yeah.
So that was.
They wanted 20,000 for lobola.
Yeah. Then, many years ago. So I remember, so we were having this conversation for like a couple of months now. How is it going to happen? I think it was becoming heavy on us. And this one evening, we were on the phone for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was asking him, how are we going to do it? Sort of like maybe nagging about it. And we said our good nights and that. And then he calls me an hour later. And he says, you know what? I know how we're going to do this. We're going to get married soon. And I'm like, stop joking. It's a very sensitive issue.
Yeah.
And it's like, after we talked, like maybe 30 minutes later, a friend of mine, whom we were together in De Beers, he's now in the States. He just called and said that the Lord laid it on his heart that he needs to support his wedding. And they were going to send us $2,000 for our marriage.
Wow.
So,
Beautiful. Interesting.
Yes. So it was God designed like that. When God orchestrates something like that, it also like confirms in your heart that I'm doing the right thing. It looked like a perfect will of God.
A point that we missed that he mentioned earlier on.
Yeah.
So you are South African.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm South African. I'm from Woodbank. Now it's called Emalahleni.
Like
Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga.
Yes, and I'm Zulu speaking.
Oh.
So actually when we met, we just conversed in English.
Yeah.
Hey man, so this man went for a Zulu woman. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we just speak in English here in those days, and he was in a white Bible school as well. So we were very English.
And she's very English. Well,
No, I'm not.
She was.
Okay.
Not just the language, but the lifestyle.
Oh, the lifestyle. Also, like, did she teach you Zulu as well?
Yeah, she taught me Zulu when we met.
Wakhuluma kancane.
Yebo.
Kancane kakhulu.
Kakhulu. You know how powerful women are.
Okay.
Then when I met her, she couldn't speak any Setswana. Now she can preach in Setswana.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I went to Tsabong, and thank God that when we were getting to get ready to get married, I wasn't going to leave my job until I found a job this side. But it so happened that God led me to actually resign and leave everything and go to Tsabong, because I would have never learned Setswana. I would have never learned how it was like to be in full-time ministry, and I learned it like early in our marriage. So when I went to Tsabong, those people were not going to speak to me in English. And they were yes, so like in church, I would really listen to the interpreter.
Yeah.
Like fortunately, our churches, those old churches, they preach in English and interpret Setswana. So I still remember those two guys. I look at them, I'm like, they taught me Setswana because I would like listen to them. So that's how I learned Setswana.
And she's a linguist in a way because it's easy for her to catch languages.
Yeah, like I think that's how South Africans are.
Yeah.
How many? Yeah, like I think
Yeah.
South Africans are polyglots.
Yeah,
like these.
Yeah.
How many languages do you speak? Zulu.
I speak
Xhosa,
Afrikaans.
Okay.
Well, the Setswana has substituted the Afrikaans a lot, but I used to do Afrikaans as a second language from the time I was in standard 3. Yeah. So English, Afrikaans, Zulu, Xhosa, Ndebele, Seswati, and Setswana now. Yeah.
English.
I used to speak a little bit of Tsonga. Because my maternal grandfather is actually Tsonga, but because my maternal grandmother was Zulu, she's like the matriarch, so we all spoke Zulu. Yeah.
So wasn't there some sort of culture shock for you? I mean, you leaving your home, your home country, your hometown into this Botswana. Yes, I know that Botswana and South Africa are similar. Yeah, like there's a lot of similarities and all that, but no culture
Absolutely
shock.
There was. Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
And I was living, when I started working, I had moved into a flat in Parktown, and I was working in Midrand.
Okay.
So that is like the heart of Joburg, where the fast life is very cosmopolitan. It's the prosperous part of Johannesburg. And then I went to Tsabong. You can imagine how slow. Very,
For
very
love.
slow.
Hey, man, I love
very,
when you
very
love things, bro. Hey.
For love. You got it right,
Yeah,
Joey,
yeah.
for love. So it was so slow. I wrestled with God so much for about a year.
Yeah.
I think I wrestled with God from 2003 May to 2005. That's when 2005.
And I made sure she arrives there at night, eh?
At night,
so
why?
that she doesn't see
I didn't
how dry it was, this white sand and everything.
Yeah, being very strategic.
And then when I woke up, it's like this white sand. Maybe you haven't even been to Tabung.
No, I've been there. I've
Okay,
been there.
all right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been
So
there.
you
I
get-
think twice or thrice.
Yeah.
And you can imagine, this is like
Yes.
2003.
22 years ago.
Yeah.
22 years
Hey,
ago.
man.
So,
Yes,
Yeah.
and the donkeys coming in and out of our yard, the cows, the
Yeah.
goats.
But at least the Afrikaners there. At least, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but it was just still,
dry.
it was not, yeah.
Didn't that put a strain in your relationship?
No, hey, lucky enough. And I think that God used the relationship to cause me to settle. Because then I did move back. I did move back to South Africa. The lady who had replaced me in my job had gone to maternity leave, and I was in touch with them. So they called me back now, February 2004. But we had already conceived our first daughter. Yes, we got married in May 2003, February 2004, actually March 2004. Then I went to work at my former company. But it was so strenuous for me. I was pregnant. I was very emotional. I used to cry that he comes to Joburg like monthly. Imagine from Tabung, and he would come monthly. And I was going to Centurion Christian Church, a very family type of church.
Yeah.
And I used to feel so out of place. And God used that because, when you throw a tantrum, God allows you to, have what you want. So I did go to Joburg, and it was not the thing for me. I was not meant to build a family like that, so far away from my husband. And just also, we also minister a lot in family. So the living 1,000 kilometers apart was not working, and I tasted it. So I could decide, okay, God, I don't want this. But it was still, even after the baby was born, I was getting good offers from Joburg, the company. From companies to work at.
Yeah,
and
did you take them?
No, I didn't. It was a lot of prayer, walking with good counsel, like other older people that we know, talking to them. And, God just speaks. He's very silent. He doesn't make noise or, But I eventually decided in 2005, March, I remember, I had gone to South Africa for something. We went to a conference in Soroe, and we arrived in Tabung at night again. So when
Again.
it always. So that's when I decided, okay, God, I'm going to give this a chance. I'm going to settle. Because I think I had 1 foot in Botswana, 1 foot in South Africa. But when I woke up in the morning, because I had made that decision, when I opened the door, the door that I would open and everything would be dry out there, it seemed so like there was just this peace. It was so, I saw nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So I knew that within me, then I was okay. But it didn't put a strain on our relationship. Actually, our relationship helped me to settle because I wanted the relationship so much.
How were the finances like by that time, sir?
It's very interesting. We never struggled.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was only earning 2,000. When she left her job, she was earning 11,000.
Back then?
Back then.
Do
Plus
like
other,
2,000 plus salary.
yeah.
Hey,
Plus there were other benefits, and it was during that time of affirmative action, and she was working with white people. She had so much favor; they wanted her too. Yeah. So, but she was like, "No ways, I'm going to be with my husband." But strangely, God just took care of us. We never lagged. We never felt the lag. I don't know how we did it.
How so, tell us about it. You never lagged as in what? Kore?
We had food, we had a car, we had petrol, we had,
There was never a time where Hausena in the
No,
house.
Though the salary was
No,
yeah,
there's
though
nothing
the
like
salary was low, but the church, took care of our rent,
Yeah.
our gas, our electricity,
Yeah.
and water. And the people there, once in a while, some family would bring a goat, Tabung, bring a goat, a sheep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, it was just a beautiful time.
Were you content?
Yes, it was a beautiful time where God really was settling us. We were far from family and friends, so
Yeah.
there were no outside
We were bonding
influences.
like proper.
There were no people to impress.
Yeah.
We were so far away. When I was still wrestling with God, I was like, God, if my friends visit me here, which coffee shop am I going to take them to? Something silly like that.
Yeah.
But then, and there was a small farm there. What was it called? Berry Bush.
Berry bush, yeah.
That we would go on Sundays. There was
That's where we played snooker.
there was some
yeah.
British
Okay.
couple there.
Yeah.
They had a small pool. We'd
Were
go
they
with our
British?
little girl.
Were they not Africans?
One was South African and the other one was
okay.
British, I think. Yeah. So it was just a serene place. Like that's where now when I settled, the channels of my hearing to God opened up.
Yeah.
That's when God told me that He wants me to work with my husband in full-time ministry, and then I started enjoying the ministry. Being far away, we enjoyed the traveling. We'd go to South Africa a lot still, but traveling to Gaborone, back to Tabung. and we never lacked. He would provide. We also, when he got that money for the wedding, we bought, Rayma was a distributor for Hillsong Music and Christian
books,
literature books, the Joyce Myers,
CDs,
Creflo Dollars.
videos.
Yeah, so we used to sell that as well.
Yeah, so that was how we
So,
supplemented.
Together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So when the $2,000 came, instead of just going to pay lobola, I started buying books, CDs, DVDs, and I'll sell them in gaps. Actually, Hillsong became popular during that time because I used to bring it from Rema, sell in gaps, and sell along the way. Kanye Jwaneng,
And when we'd go to conferences.
How would you sell it? Like, how would you? Because I get it was back in the days.
Yeah,
social
from the people that I had relationships with.
Okay.
Yeah, so word of mouth. Yeah, so what I would do, I would leave them there. They pay end of the month. And by the time,
like how they do with chickens,
yes, and then you pay. So by the time I actually, in December of 2002, I had paid all of the lobola. I gave them 20,000, but they gave me discount after I paid of 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah. I had bought the rings. She had a very expensive ring that was made specifically for her with gold and a big diamond.
Wow.
Yeah, unfortunately, it disappeared somewhere along the
I
line.
was looking for it.
No, it's not this one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and all the clothes were bought. All Mahadi were bought. The parents had gone there. We were just waiting for a date. By December, we were just waiting for May. Everything was paid. And the good thing about them, that side, is that once you have paid whatever they want, the first part of the wedding, they do everything. So you don't have to pay anything else. Yeah. So I was settled, just waiting for the date.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So wasn't there that thing for you this side or I mean, from parents or of all the girls locally and then you went for a Zulu girl?
I think with my parents, they were disappointed. Remember, I had done, I got first class in my Form 5, and very good in sciences, maths. So my parents were disappointed that I left Botswana, all of the good life, for being a pastor.
Yeah.
So when I came to them telling them that I wanted to get married, the first thing that they were really interested in, where are you going to get the money from? Yeah. But God had already answered,
Yeah.
So God had already answered, right? And that meant that I could present to them. I just told them that, no, I have 10,000. I didn't tell them the whole amount. Because I wanted them to contribute.
Yeah.
So when I said, no, I have 10,000, they started sitting properly. And they said, oh, okay, and then we can organize. They had already seen that I was serious Christian. And so there was never any question about, anything. And also, they knew her. Yeah, there was a time where one of our friends had a wedding where I was the best man and she had come and met, and they loved her. So
okay. Interesting. Let's talk about, you guys have been together, you said for how long now?
27 years.
27 years, and then married for
22 on the 3rd of May.
27 years together, 22 years as a married couple now. I would like us to talk about relationships. With your experience. What makes a relationship work? Starting with you, sir.
Okay. I talked about being broken earlier. Brokenness, ne?
Yeah.
A lot of us are not real to ourselves.
True.
Therefore, it becomes difficult to be real with the next person.
True.
So if you had to ask me what makes a relationship work, I would say you have to be true to who you are. You have to face your own wounds, deal with them so that you don't project on another person. Once you know who you are and you have dealt with your brokenness, you can then accommodate another person into your life. Otherwise, what you may be doing is that you may be looking for missing parts in you from another person. And another person can never be fully able to give you what you don't have. What I usually say is that you cannot give what you don't have.
True.
So it's very important for us that we heal. You see, like I was talking about rejection earlier. And I was saying rejection can bring performance. What is performance? A lot of people are not living for themselves. They are living for the limelight or to impress other people. So when you are meeting somebody who is not living as themselves, but all they are trying to do is to impress the next person, living like that will make you very tired. So a lot of us, we have a mask that we are putting on. And so when we meet somebody, we try to project that mask. But then the reality of a relationship is that it's going to keep on, borrowing into your reality, and somewhere you are going to explode. So what makes a relationship work, I would say, is working on yourself, dealing with your own traumas, your own brokenness, your own triggers, finding who you are. Because you see, the question is, when you are still broken and you don't know who you are, and you are attracted to another person, are you really attracted to that person for who they are, or for what you are lacking? Are you looking for what you are lacking in that person?
Yeah.
You understand? So you can't even be sure about the choices you make because you are not yourself. So what I would say is the beginning of a great relationship with not just romantic, but with any other person, whether it's a colleague at work, friends, is find your wounds, deal with your wounds. Because then you can be yourself. And when you are yourself, it doesn't matter what others say about you. You know who you are. And therefore, you can speak your truth and stand for what you truly believe in. And people can see you for who you are, not who you are projecting.
So how do you as a person, I agree with you about like the traumas part. Like,
Yes, yeah.
definitely so. How do you as a person, how do you as a person deal with your traumas? Because like usually therapy, and like a lot of people don't believe in therapy. You are a pastor, you're not a therapist. And
I'm both, actually.
Oh, you are both.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot of my
Alright.
work is
Counseling.
therapy, it's counseling.
Oh.
I spend more time counseling people than preaching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hours and hours.
Okay, so how do they deal with with our wounds and our traumas and all that?
To make it easy, I'll break it into 4 steps.
Okay.
Number 1, acknowledge your wounds. Acknowledge that certain things did not go well with you. A lot of us, our brokenness is from just our own families. You grew up without a father, or you saw your father abusing your mom, or your mother was busy in her career, never gave you attention. There are lots of brokenness from our own families. So acknowledge that. Don't be in denial that you're broken. The second thing is to make a choice to forgive those who did you bad. It's very important that to heal. I always tell people that forgiveness is like an injection. Not many of us like being injected, but we take it because it heals us.
100%.
So choosing to forgive is a very important pill for your own healing. That's the second thing you choose. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a choice. You know that you have to make this choice so that you are well. And then the third step is to then reject the decisions that you made. I'm sure you have heard women saying "Banna ke dimtsa."
Yeah.
When a woman says "Banna ke dimtsa," usually ba kopa le mtsa e one.
Yeah,
Say
men
2
are
or
true.
say 3.
Yeah, or say
so
three.
habale bararo, and they did her bad. In her mind, it's like, my experience says men are bad. So it's a reaction to something that happened to her. It's very important that you reject decisions that go against the word of God or the principles of God that come from your pain, and you adopt. That's why earlier she quoted Romans chapter 12 verse 2. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. The world that we live in kind of creates patterns. A pattern is like a programming of the mind. Computers are programmed, so you think in a particular way. So do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You are a product of your thoughts. So how you think is going to determine the kind of choices that you make. So you have to reject bad thinking so that you can take in the reality of who you are. And then the last step is then to ask God to heal you. God wants you to take responsibility of your own healing, make the right choices, and then he can come in and do the miracle of healing. Yeah.
So, Pastor, you mentioned that you were raised by a single parent.
Yeah.
Obviously, that causes a father wound mostly, and sometimes a mother wound.
Yes.
So you had traumas.
Of course.
Like you were wounded. How were you able to heal though? But like, let me rephrase the question. Before you met her, were you healed? If so, how were you able to heal that?
Okay.
Because that was before ministry and
Yeah,
everything.
let me explain it this way.
Yeah.
92, I became a Christian, right?
Okay.
So my life just revolved around Christianity.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was trying my best from a religious point of view to do things right.
Okay.
According to the word of the Lord. 7 years later, when I went to Hartfield Christian Church, that's when I was confronted with this truth. that apart from my spirituality, there's also the psychological impact in who I am. That I was wounded by my upbringing.
Yeah.
So the first year, they focus basically on developing you as a person, healing the person that you are, the psychology, the thinking, and all of the things that went. So that's when my soul healing then began. And it was so impactful that's when I started dealing with you see, in my case, my mother, because she was present, she had done a lot of harm. I was a bad kid. I want to give it to her. Standard 3, I was sniffing glue and benzene.
Hey, man.
Standard 6, I was drinking Black Label, Lion, and
Standard
Roomba.
6.
Yeah.
Standard 6.
Yeah.
Black Label.
Black Label and Roomba. Roomba was some hot stuff. You had to mix it.
Well, like in Palab.
In
How did you
Mupipi,
know?
actually.
I know that is Palab. I started Palab like me.
Yeah, I started in Palapa, standard 3. But then when I was doing standard 6, my mother was so tired of me. She decided to send me to my aunt who was in Mupipi.
Okay.
After about 50 kilometers, 53 kilometers from Orapa.
Okay.
So she was a teacher there. So I went there. That's when now I started like drinking majalo. Because I became friends with older guys. Yeah. So I was broken in that way. And interestingly, when I was like that, the thing that really changed me from drinking and maybe using drugs was that at standard 6 in 1987, my father, he wrote a letter to me saying that he has heard how naughty I am and that he loves me and that I should not destroy my life like that. So I read that letter. I don't know, when I read that letter, something
Shifted.
was awakened inside of me. It's like a light bulb came inside of me. I was like, so Taime knows that I exist. You understand?
Yeah.
Kore, it was a stamp of approval for my existence. Or, okay, so I do matter to this guy. And I decided that I'm never going to disappoint him again. But being a small boy, one day the guys said, no, let's take a walk. And then we went outside the village and I found out that they had actually bought glue. And I was tempted and I started sniffing. As soon as I got high, the words of my father from the letters all just came. And I started crying. I said, how can I do this to my father? How can I disappoint him? After he wrote me a letter, I ran away from those boys, went back home, 1987, to this day. Truth before God, I've never taken a drug, alcohol, none of that. Because something awakened in me. And it was years later, I was doing standard 6. It was years later when I was doing form 4, that's when I became a Christian, you know. But I was a good boy from there because I became a prefect. When I was doing form 1, because he was a principal, I went to the school that he was a principal at.
Your dad?
So, yeah, my dad.
Oh, okay.
But I was in boarding. But he was around, you know. He kind of took us because the three of us are his children.
Okay.
So all of us went there. And there was just this sense of belonging and identity. The people knew, you understand. So I just became a good boy and went to senior school, sent me to his friend who was also a principal there. And I continued being a good boy until I became a Christian. And my life just changed.
So like you were already healing the soul.
My soul was healing, but the amazing thing is that it was healed by being acknowledged by my own father.
Yeah.
That is why fathers must acknowledge their children. It's very important. Your identity is tied up to your father. How about Rubina? How about How hey, Asuka, your mother, you know, your surname is supposed to be your father's. Everything, your identity is really tied to the father side. Even in the Bible, about the fathers, not the mothers. You understand? So, we have this problem where children are more attached to the mothers, and it's creating a lot of identity crises and making us fail in our own marriages.
That's true.
So we need to heal.
Pastor Shaz, how do you extend this answer? What makes a relationship? But for you, I'd like to specify it to your relationship specifically, you and him.
Yeah. I think friendship. Like we said in the beginning, we started out as friends.
Okay.
I I just liked this guy, like as a friend.
Yeah,
Just talking to him. So even transitioning now into
was he charming?
Yes.
Okay.
But he's not your typical charmer because he doesn't go all out to charm
Out
you.
of his way.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I'm just natural.
Oh, it's natural. Is it?
For me, it was more of like I liked his, I don't want to call it innocence, but nale mellow and good. Like I just thought he was such a good person. Righteous. That's how I saw him. Like even now I say to him, my love, you're so nice. You're like a nice guy.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about him. He was just nice to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not just to me.
Yeah,
And even now he's still nice to, I think that is how he pastors. He's just like a nice guy. So like friendship. So even when we transitioned to the romantic relationship, the fact that we were friends, that we were, we talked a lot, we already admired traits about each other, that keeps us going. So because even now we are friends, I enjoy his company. I wait for him when we are home. If he's home alone, he doesn't eat until I come. When he's not there, I don't eat until he comes. Because I'm waiting for my friend.
Oh, Lerato overrides.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, okay.
When the love of your life is not around, I'll take it down.
Never. So, Pastor Shaz, in terms of, I mean, did you feel his masculine energy from the jump? Ghana, is it something that you allowed him to grow on? I mean, as husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend, this and that, a man is always the lead.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the masculine energy and all that. And like he said, most of us are raised by single parents and all that. Ghana, we're from broken places.
Yeah.
So in most cases, our masculinity is broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. For him, how was it like?
Yeah. No, I did feel it, and that's one of the things that I liked about him.
Yeah.
I liked that he led. He led our relationship. He had a vision, for his life. So I had a vision to follow. So I did, and I responded well to it because, like he said, I lost my mom when I was 14, but I was very close to my dad. And my dad, he didn't marry too soon after my mom passed away.
Yeah.
So I already had a good relationship, in terms of a father or a male figure.
Yeah.
So I would respond well to my father's leadership, my father's role in the family. And I have a big brother who was very, very protective.
Yeah.
So I responded well to that. So when he came and he was also leading, protective, very caring, caring of me, I responded well to that because I already had it from home. So I think I enjoyed that. And I that's what I also admired from him. Yeah.
Besides the love that you have for him, why is it that you have never looked outside him? Like, besides the love that you have for him, is there something that you can mention? Okay, I've never really felt like I want a different man from him.
Yeah, because I feel so content when I'm with him. I really don't see the need to go outside. I'm content with him. Like he's really, like from the time when we were dating, he was ask, "Are you okay? How are you? Then what do you want? Can I get you this? Can I? I'm not even talking about material things.
Yeah.
Like you heard when we started dating, he was, when you went to Bible school, he was the broke one.
Yeah.
So it's not about material
so Zaka
things.
out. Yeah,
But just care. Like even tea.
Well, earlier on he was, pouring
Yes,
tea and all
he
that,
still
yeah.
he wakes me
Still
up with
got game,
he wakes me up with a cup of coffee every day.
Hey, man.
And and at night before we go to bed, he makes tea. So just that care, attention, like nurturing kind of care.
Small things.
The small things, yes.
Consistently doing the small things
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
a big difference.
What do you call him? Like, what's his pet name?
My love. I call him my love.
Your love.
Yeah.
So, what do you call her?
My love.
How-
That's it.
That's it. Okay. For you, say, why is it that besides the love, and why is it that you have never looked outside her? Like, why is it that you've never felt like you needed anyone else?
I think for me, the biggest thing, and I think maybe it's a bit different for most men.
Okay.
The biggest thing has always been the heart of the person.
The heart of the person.
Yeah.
Yamasai. Okay.
I find it very hard to be attracted to the outside of a person. No matter how attractive the person is.
Okay.
I've come to value the personality within.
Okay.
So because of that, I need to really, really know you inside, maybe for anything to begin to, to catch up or to connect.
Okay.
So because the physical aspect of a human, usually men are attracted to the, beauty, the body, and so those don't work for me. Yeah, so I have to really know who you are inside. Plus also, in what I do, it's very sensitive area. So you can't be, risking playing those games because your reputation is everything. Yeah.
How do you overcome challenges as a couple? Because obviously, like, challenges are everywhere, and as a Christian, we understand that challenges are brought by God.
Yeah.
How do you overcome challenges as a couple?
Yeah.
Together. I mean, you guys have been together for a long time now. Obviously, there's been loads of challenges. Loads of challenges. How do you overcome them as a...
I think being united is a very big thing. You can't believe it. We have 3 daughters right now.
Okay.
One is about to turn 21. One is about to turn 16. The other one is about to turn 12. And we have lost 2.
Well, like you've lost 2.
Yeah.
Two
in 2008, our 2 daughters died 10 days from each other. The other one was 13 months. The other one was 10 days.
Hey, that's...
Yeah. So you can imagine, as a pastor, you pray for people, everything, for healing and stuff. So it's just one of the challenges that we have gone through. Also, we have gone through financial challenges. And I think, what she's talking about, caring, there's so much power in unity. I don't know whether you saw my speech at the stadium. I read from that speech, Pastor. Okay, I read from Psalm 133. It says, how does it go? Behold how good and how pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in unity. And then it says it's like the oil that was poured on Aaron's head that came down his beard to the collar of his robe. It says it's like the dew of Mount Hermon. And then it says this, verse 4, the last verse. There, the Lord commands a blessing. Where? Where there is unity. One of the things that the devil hates in any relationship or any organization is unity. That is why Masika Ronalwa, Rasabudi Kazini, if the devil can cause disunity in any way, that's how he wins us. So through our poverty or our lack, we have been together. And I can tell you, we have achieved a lot because of being together, united, making sure that you care about how the other person, like for me, I can get namanad when my wife is not happy. I have to find out quickly what is wrong, and I have learned to apologize right. You understand? Men, we like to justify with logic, but we must understand that a woman is strongly emotional. If you don't cater for her emotions or address her emotions, it doesn't matter how good a lawyer you are going to lose her. Once they disconnect emotionally, they are gone. So I've learned to make sure that I address her emotions. I ask for forgiveness properly, not just for acts, but how I make her feel. And so, those things really do help.
Sounds like the way Ubuanga thing, it sounds like you overwork to keep the relationship afloat or the marriage afloat. Is how you is it how you would explain it?
Oh, it's the most natural thing.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, when you care about somebody and they care about you back, you don't feel the strain to it. It's I don't know, we are selfish natural as human beings, but when you are selfless and you serve others, because like she said, I care about many people, I serve this nation, I serve many families, I serve many people. People come to me, I take care of them like they are the only ones that exist. That's a gift that God has given me. And so the selflessness, it's something that has become natural to me. When I serve other people, even if I don't get anything in return, because I'm not expecting it, my reward is in heaven, there's no sense of heaviness in it. And it's even beautiful when there's a return on whatever it is, and she does so well. I don't worry about what I eat, what I wear. She takes care of the needs that a woman should take care of. And it's for her, it's not it's not strenuous. It's the most natural thing.
Yeah.
So I give myself to her. She gives herself to me. We are feeling each other's energies. Yeah.
What are your weaknesses as a person and in the relationship? Like like that you can talk about.
Okay, my weakness is that she has pointed out and my children have pointed out is that I shout.
A lot.
Because you can understand I was raised that way. So when there is something that goes wrong, I can raise my voice. And she wasn't raised like that. My children also, they don't understand that. So I have to keep on, making sure that I take care of that. So that is the biggest weakness that I know. Maybe she can point out
what
others.
Are his weaknesses? We'll talk about that later. Romana. What else?
My daughters and I we don't get it.
Oh yeah.
And kids, mama says, my 2000 and something.
Yeah.
Has the middle one always says, Daddy, why do you have to shout?
I'm right here.
Why do you have to shout?
It happened now. My dad is a quiet person. He doesn't shout, so I can't respond. Man, don't think you're gonna get anything out of me. So it's just that, but he's aware of it, and
and I apologize properly.
Interesting.
Yes.
What else?
Hey, what are your weaknesses? I guess who overworker. His gift, he's I believe he's a restorer. So like I also counsel, but I don't counsel as much as he does. He can, and I find it very tiring. But he just gets in that office and he counsels people, counsels couples, and I think so his gift is also his weakness, that it can then drain him and take a lot of his time, but he still is able to prioritize things properly.
For you, what are your weaknesses?
I think he must tell you.
I'm not getting he mentioned this first. I want to see if you acknowledge yours.
It's very hard to tell, it's very hard to tell.
Hey.
Well, like she can tell it.
Hi. I think that's why we can say Gila's born and daddy's girl and little sister to my brother. So so
that one.
Yeah,
like you like being coddled.
And yes, I just princess tendencies.
Earlier on he mentioned how unity during a period of lack or especially financial, like there was a period where like there was scarcity in terms of the finances and all that. So we know what it's natural or between a man and a woman, a woman is not naturally designed to struggle. For you, like what keeps you or what kept you going, even I mean, like what kept you to go on also lose patience, but because we are used to women but eventually like they just jump ship and all that. For you?
No, for me, I think, remember, God is my source first. So for me, knowing that God is our provider, I just knew from the beginning. And when we were at uni, he was taken there by Botswana. That was God's provision. I was there on a Ministry of Health bursary. So that is how, even when we were in Bible school. So when he was there in Botswana, we could go out with his money, and then after he went to Bible school, then my bursary became active, so that we'll get petrol to travel between Bible school and taking me to college. So God has really provided for us, and you know how our Mahadi money came. So God really showed to us, he emphasized it that I'm your provider. So that's why I can't, even when we are broke, even now, I'm waiting for God to. I don't really look to him. I don't put pressure on him. I make my supplications known to God.
What do you love about him the most?
The care.
The care.
Yeah, the care. He's a very caring person. I love to be cared for. The nurturing. He responds to my love languages, and he's there for us. He's concerned. He knows that I'm waiting for him maybe to come either ka lunch or on his day off. He knows that that is our time, and we do it like that.
Yeah.
You know, I know that he's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you love about her the most?
She's a very good person, eh?
Righteous, like you mentioned.
Yeah, she's good. She's a good person, but like very strongly a family person. Yeah, I don't think my family would be the way it is if it wasn't for her. Very strong family values, care for children, raising children right, eating right, you know, just general health, you know. She doesn't want me to go out in the sun, take care of my skin. I don't always listen to her, but like she cares about the small things. A lot of things about me has improved ever since she came into my life. So she has added a lot of value to me, and I value that.
When you listen to a lot of relationship or long-term marriage success stories and all that, the most common word is forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you guys say about that in your long-standing marriage?
Yeah, no, it's very important, you know, to forgive. That's why it's also important to apologize as well. Yeah, like he always says, I always used to ask him, like when he apologizes, I was like, what are you apologizing for? You know, because I think a person can just say sorry to just as an emergency, quick.
To keep you quiet.
Yeah, but you know, asking for forgiveness must be accompanied by repentance to show that you're actually gonna change. So that's very important. I must say sorry. You know, when you ask, I think the reason why people are, you know, find it difficult to apologize is because you have to humble yourself.
Yeah.
You have to humble yourself, admit that you are wrong, you know, and yeah, so it's very important, especially in a marriage, to do it quickly and so that you move on. Forgiveness takes you to the next level, to the next, the other side of the bridge.
But Pastor, as a person, not necessarily you, and as a person in a relationship and as a person in marriage,
Okay, from a Christian perspective, we must always forgive.
77 times.
Yeah, 77 times 7. But you see, the thing is, if you have forgiven properly, that means you never get to number 2. Because you always erase when you forgive. You understand? Okay. So we must understand. I think sometimes we think forgiving another person is for their sake. Actually, forgiveness works for you more than it works for another person. That's why even dead people, you must forgive them. Forgiveness properly sometimes means receiving an apology that will never be given to you. For me, a lot of the people that I forgive never came to ask for forgiveness. But I realized, imagine how So what are triggers, basically? Triggers or something that reminds you of the pain that is already in your heart. So when you forgive, and that means you can live your life outside of the influence of somebody that hurt you. So forgiveness actually is for your good, and if you forgive well, you'll have better relationships and you will not be triggered. So always forgive for your sake.
So in a relationship, it's easier to forgive someone that you are not living with, someone that you are not always saying like that. In a relationship,
how does it go about?
Like you said, sometimes you have to forgive. Even when someone didn't apologize. And like that happens a lot in more relationship and all that.
Okay.
Yes.
Here is the difference. Now, there's forgiveness and then there is reconciliation. These are two different things.
Okay.
Forgiveness is something that the Bible says you must do, and it is for your good, okay?
Yeah.
Whether somebody apologizes or not. But reconciliation requires that the person who has hurt you takes responsibility of what they have done. So you can forgive somebody on your own and say, Lord, this person hurt me 1, 2, 3, 4, but I choose to forgive them. So and then later you can go to that person and say, you know what, when you did 1, 2, 3, you really hurt me. That person can say, I don't know what you're talking about. When they are unrepentant and there is no chance for reconciliation. But if that person says, I am so sorry that I hurt you that way, please forgive me for it, and whatever, it shows that they value you enough to take responsibility for what they have done. Okay. Now, what that says is that person now has gone into a place where you can reconsider having a relationship with them. That is where the reconciliation comes in. The Bible is very clear that we must always forgive. But when it comes to reconciliation, it says, as far as it's possible with you, live at peace with all men. So reconciliation, God gives it to you to say, it's up to you. There are people that you must forgive and let go. Because they are going to bite again. They are going to betray you again. So that is the difference. When we confuse forgiveness and reconciliation, so in a relationship, if your person is not remorseful, they are not changing, yeah.
Nice one, Pastor. I'd like us to play this game quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just ask you guys questions and then basically it's just 2 segments of the game.
Okay.
Yeah, there's where I ask you guys questions and then there's where I ask you questions and then you raise hands to answer that.
All right.
Yeah, but starting with this one first. Best love movie of all time.
Titanic.
Yes.
Titanic.
That's the first movie we watched together as a couple.
Oh, okay.
1998.
Best love song of all time.
End of the road. Boys to Men.
Oh, Boys to Men. Then the end of. Okay. Best scripture in the Bible.
For me, as a counselor, is Jeremiah 17, verse 8 and 9. It says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can understand it?
Yeah.
And that's why I deal with lots of heart issues. And in relationships, if you don't deal with your deceitful heart, you are not going to make it. So I love that scripture because it speaks to the reality of people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Best scripture?
First Thessalonians 5:23. May the God of peace sanctify you wholly, spirit, soul, and body, so that at the return of Christ you are blameless.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Best holiday destination?
It has been Amanzimtoti.
Yeah, Manzimtoti.
In
south of
in
Durban.
Oh,
That's where we had our
That's where we had our
honeymoon.
honeymoon.
Oh, okay.
Amanzimtoti, sweet
Amanzimtoti.
waters.
Yeah, it's just off Durban, along in the KwaZulu
South.
Natal.
Oh, okay. Oh, this one is for the both of you guys.
Yes.
Okay. If you get to renew your vows, what would be your best honeymoon destination? Starting with you.
An island somewhere.
Yeah, an island like what is that place with white sands?
Seychelles.
Yeah, Seychelles also, but will be option 3.
Cut again.
Maldives, yes.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
the Maldives,
I
yeah.
thought you wanted Zanzibar.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
Maldives.
Uh-huh. Best child name?
Tiamo, I guess.
For me, it's our second born who passed away. Her name is Guhle Giti. It means Khokhontle Mohorona. I just love that name. Yeah, I hope I didn't get it from anywhere. I just feel it was an impression from God.
For
Yeah.
you, Siam.
Yeah, Tiamo. Yeah.
Our firstborn is called Tiao.
Oh, okay.
She's a YouTuber also.
Oh,
Tiamo's in Disile.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
she
Interesting.
does,
You said how old is she? 21?
She's 20.
Yeah.
She's
Oh,
20, yeah.
okay.
20.
Pull through to overview, man. 2K Parliament. Do like, what's another one? Yeah. Best flower?
Rose.
Rose.
Yeah.
Rose is fine.
Rose.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Not
Best.
for myself, for her. I don't do flowers.
Oh, okay. No, definitely.
Yeah, for me, she has to buy T-bone.
Yeah. T-bone meat. Yeah. Still with you, say. No, with her. Botswana man or South African man?
South African.
Oh?
Yes, it's just that my husband, I get what I want, it's just the divine.
But are you listening to it?
I'm hearing.
No, you know why?
Yeah, why?
Like, I find that South African men, I think they're so they're not very traditional. Like I was telling him that,
I know that Zulu are traditional, bro. Zulu man.
yeah, but I didn't grow up like kwa, kwa, kwa. I'm like from the coal mines.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just from like Gauteng, Mpumalanga, like in the towns. So I find that I was telling him that there are more functional marriages and families around us in South Africa than even here.
Yeah.
Because of that family thing is more. Botswana is too much singleness. The men they don't take responsibility. Banyala ba le batona. You know, yeah. So
And you're very ready.
hey,
Best movie actor of all times?
Best movie actor.
Denzel, he's Denzel
I'm
Washington.
Oh, he's a
Denzel
Denzel
Washington
guy.
guy, yeah.
Oh, okay. Like, he looks like a Denzel guy.
Yeah, such a Denzel.
Yeah,
guy.
for you, best movie actor of all times?
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we also like Pretty Woman.
Yeah, we
Oh,
love
okay.
that movie. Yeah.
Interesting. Best pastor of all times?
Okay, that one is hard. I'm going to say somebody who you would not think would be in my circle. John Piper.
John Piper.
Yeah.
Do you know John Piper from Desiring God?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my. I listen to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like because he
Interesting.
teaches the word. I love the word. He's not charismatic or anything, but
Yeah.
John the
Piper.
word. Yeah. So that's the guy I can look at and say, yeah, I love the way he does it.
Best pastor.
I love Bill Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Bethel. You know Bethel music?
Yeah.
Bill Johnson, the pastor. He's a family man. He believes in the supernatural. Yeah, he's very deep in terms of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one is going to be obvious. Best president.
Duma Gideon Boko.
Yes, your boy.
But is he already the best though? I mean, like, it's been how many months? 4 months?
All right, for me, okay, let me say like realistically,
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela, of
Oh,
course,
Madiba.
yeah,
Yeah.
South African,
Okay.
and that guy, forgiveness, and he didn't care whether the people were saying sorry or not. He just wanted to reconcile,
Yeah.
and he reconciled South Africa. And I was in South Africa then. The way it felt, it was so euphoric.
Yeah.
When he came out of jail and he became president, it was really a new South Africa.
Yeah.
And that guy.
I'm still on this. Obviously, I mean, it's public information now that you are the country president's spiritual mentor and pastor and all that. How is it like to spiritually mentor him? I mean, I think if I heard correctly, you has been his spiritual mentor for a long time now.
Yeah.
How long has it been?
Full time, like closely for more than 11 years.
Oh, for more than 11
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. But we've known each other 15 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys friends before, or you
No.
met on?
Okay, our friendship developed because in 2013 he asked me to be his spiritual advisor, mentor.
Well, like he came to
Yeah,
you.
he
with that
he
request.
actually he was in America, and I think God was showing him visions and stuff. So he
Yeah.
sent me a WhatsApp, which
Yeah.
I still have, and the visions that he was seeing and the scriptures that was referred to him, and so he said, this is what I'm seeing, and I thought I'll give this assignment to somebody who is more spiritually in tune than myself to explain these things to
Yeah.
me. And so we started talking, we became friends. We used to go out for coffees, lunches, and
Magen
Magen Bean, yeah. But we went to many different restaurants.
Yeah.
The Chinese one.
The Chinese
CBD.
one,
Yeah.
le haya Emotile Western Bypass. I think.
Not Wimpy.
No, Western Bypass.
Wimpy.
No.
Okay.
When you are going between Block 8 Circle and Airport Junction. By the corner there, Craft something?
Oh,
Yeah,
Botswana
Botswana
Craft.
Craft.
Oh,
Yeah. We
okay,
used to
yeah,
go
yeah.
there, and then the speaker also joined us. He used to come
Yeah,
with
yeah,
us.
yeah,
Yeah,
Sticks.
yeah, Sticks. So, so we just became close friends, and then the wife was coming to my church, fully, and then
Apparently they met there. Is it true?
No.
okay.
When I met them, because you see, in 2019 when I saw Duma for the first time, we were at the wedding.
2009.
Huh?
Yeah.
2009. Sorry,
Yeah,
2009.
yeah.
We were at the wedding of Maboko's sister.
Older sister.
Yeah, so that's when then I started having.
Maboko and my first lady.
Yeah.
Yes, first lady.
Oh, they were together then.
Yes,
2009.
yes,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They already had a son.
They had a
then.
4-year-old already.
Yeah, a 4-year-old.
Sorry.
And he was harassing
Sorry.
both of them at the wedding.
Okay.
So then after that, he started coming to my church, and we'll sit and talk, and just we've been talking and friends, and going through the struggle together. When I'm stuck, he'll help me.
Yeah.
I'll help him when he's stuck, and so we developed a very strong relationship. And then he started posting me on his Facebook as spiritual advisor.
Yeah.
And then he'll give speeches about me, maybe at church.
Yeah.
Wherever I invited him, he used to come. And it was very special that 2 days after he became president, he came to our church.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was very interesting because the office of the president was not involved. Like there was still confusion.
Yeah.
So I called them, say, guys, can you come to church? They said, sure.
Yeah.
We just spoke with the security. They came, checked the place, and we were busy. And we didn't want to make it public because we were going to be overwhelmed by people.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, that Sunday, we had more than 600K people watching our Facebook
I was
live.
part of that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It was a very special. Yeah. So we've had a very strong relationship, and I'm the guy that I'm able to challenge him about some things that he actually says it when I call him and I want to meet him. Why am I you put the lenses wrong? So that he prepares the answer. So yeah, we have such a very close relationship like that. Yeah.
Do you put him to task
About
whatever? Maybe I'm.
Yes. Yeah. He says I am the biggest influence that has been in his life, and he says when people look up to him, they are actually looking up to me because I am the influence that has. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen a different man.
True.
Humility and the way he does things. I just pray that.
Yeah, like there's no gladiator there.
Yeah. Sometimes I get worried that he's more Christian than I. I wish that sometimes he will shambok.
Yeah, like bring back the gladiator.
So it's too, but he's a very intelligent man. So sometimes when I ask him about certain things that I think he could have done, he explains what he's trying to do. Yeah. And so, we're praying that he will do things right.
Be honest, Pastor. Back then, do you ever dumela he would be president one day? Please be honest.
Our story is very
good
interesting.
Pastor, be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Our story is very interesting. The first time I saw Duma Boko was in a vision when I was in Tsabong. Remember we're in Tsabong? I'm telling you the truth. Okay. I was in Tsabong. Actually, I had seen him. He made a statement on TV, something about God. He was kind of anti-God, kind of. So I think that night or the following day, I saw in a vision where I was debating with him on TV the existence of God. Yeah. It was a very interesting debate. And from there, God put him in my heart that one day we are going to have some kind of connection. Yeah, but I forgot about it. I didn't do anything about it. I just thought, I forgot about it. I actually only remembered maybe, I don't know, 2 years ago that, this is the vision that I had a long time ago. So he was also drawn to me and he followed me. He listened to my sermons, my teachings and everything. And he always wanted, whenever there was an opportunity for us to meet, he would create it, And he was always there whenever I asked him to do anything for me. So to be honest with you, I think spiritually there was that connection. In terms of him becoming the president, I knew that it was going to happen. Originally, I thought it was going to happen in 2019. I really thought. But then when it didn't happen, I was there to encourage him that this is of God. And that's why I never... When the system was fighting against him, I never betrayed him, never left him. I was there with him, encouraged him, we called each other. So I knew that it was going to happen somehow. I didn't know how, but I just knew.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How many minutes do you have? 5 more minutes. Okay. I'd like us to get into this last segment now. I ask questions, and then the person. You just raise your hand.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I'm not good with raising hands.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You just raise your hand. First question now. Who sulks the most?
We don't have that in our home.
So what, like there's no sulking?
Okay. We see that in our children, not us.
Yeah,
not
imagine.
you.
But,
Okay. Who's older?
I am.
You must lift up your hand.
Okay.
Who's older? Who's younger? Who's prettier? Who's who's more sociable? Who's the wisest?
Hey. I don't tell it
Who's more forgiving?
I am.
You didn't raise your hand.
Who has more money?
It's our money, right?
We even have the same account.
Yeah, so like you must
Okay.
together. Who comes from the most difficult background? Okay. Who's well known?
Obviously.
Okay. Who's good with kids? Both. Who has the biggest shoe size? Okay. Last one now. Who's more loving? Thank you so much for tuning. Anything that you'd like to add on?
I don't really have much to say, but I just want to appreciate you so much, Pastor Lele Mamuru. We have this platform here to try to echo voices saying what it is. We believe we are sent here by God to do God for us. We thank you so much for passing through the podcast, and God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting us.
Lastly, what is your take on Valentines?
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, he was a good saint. He
Yeah.
actually used to take care of persecuted Christians.
Yeah.
And he was, I'm correct, and he was persecuted himself. He was a martyr.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a martyr. So then this thing I love was actually put on him. He didn't really started or do the holiday. It is in his honor. And I just feel that it's not a bad thing to do, to show love on a particular day, like be more excited about it,
Yeah.
share gifts and that. So it's a good thing to take on. I think that when people get an opportunity to love one another, to bless one another with gifts, just do it and have fun. Yeah.
I think it's the commercialization of it that can be a problem, because if you're a guy, you don't have money on Valentine's Day. It's hard.
What did you do for her like this past Valentine?
Okay, I went to buy her flowers,
Okay.
and then she
I was there.
was there.
Okay.
And then after we chose flowers with one of my daughters, she decided that she wanted a tree, so I got her
It
a
was a
tree
plant.
instead.
Oh,
It
okay.
will last longer.
And I was in a queue with lots of younger guys, and I was saying, this is what mature people do. They buy trees. They last longer than flowers that will last for a week.
Yeah.
So, and then also we had a
We had a
Valentine's dinner,
dinner.
that
Interesting.
we had organized, and we had more than
we
at Crest. We had more than 200 people attend. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
We had the honorable speaker with his wife. We had the Minister of Sports and Arts there with his wife.
Yeah.
We had some other high-ranking
The DPSM
government.
director and her
Yeah, that was
husband.
there.
Yeah.
But it was just a beautiful
Nice.
time of
Interesting.
people just celebrating love.
Yeah. Pastor Shaz, be honest. Do African women love flowers?
Yes, they do. They do, hey?
Serious?
Yeah, it just makes you feel special. Maybe it makes you feel part of, yeah.
The vibe.
Yeah, but flowers are beautiful. We do genuinely love them. Lena, I love them. I love flowers, even though I got a plant for Valentine's Day. It's just that.
Okay.
No, I think
One
they
must
do.
go. Seshabo or flowers?
Flowers.
Flowers must go.
What must go?
What must go?
Seshabo. You know why? Seshabo ke sa mongwe le mongwe ke grocery mo lapeng.
Every day.
Yeah, no.
Every day. One last thing that you'd like to say to the people, Pastor?
I just want people to know that true love does exist. It's
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Actually, John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son."
Yeah.
And love is about giving. Unfortunately, a lot of us are very selfish when it comes to love.
Yeah.
It's all about us. Even when you say you love another person, you are basically saying, I like the way I am loved through that person. So it's not about them, it's about how they make you feel. So we use people for ourselves, for our selfish. So when the person does no longer give anything to us, we have a problem with that love. So love is possible, but like I said earlier, we need to work in our brokenness and heal so that we can truly love unselfishly.
Mama Ruti?
Yeah, love is there. Love is real. Keep looking for it. Pray about it. Trust more trust God more than, trying to find it yourself. But love exists. As long as the sun rises, as long as the sun sets, those things that are good, those things that are created of God will always be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As for the people, they will see you this coming Sunday at, I struggle to pronounce this name.
Aruka.
House of Restoration.
Haruka.
Aruka.
Yeah, okay. Haruka House
Not
of...
ha.
Aruka.
Yes.
Aruka House of Restoration
Alright.
Church.
What does it mean?
Aruka is a
Restoration.
Hebrew word meaning
for
restoration,
restoration.
and it means total healing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, total
services, Sunday service.
Sunday
is
at 10.
there? At 10.
Yeah, at Rainbow High School.
Yeah, like no midweek service.
No midweek service because we are renting, so it's very expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. If you want to receive the ministry, he spoke much about healing and all that. So you offer counseling services
Yes,
and
I
all
do
that.
offer. Those who want counseling can call 7374 2880,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's free.
Or send a WhatsApp.
It's
message.
free?
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah.
Okay. Free counseling services, guys. Can I ask him something for like a minute?
Yeah.
We always have this conversation on the podcast about therapy. Is therapy important to men? Like there's this
To men?
Yeah, to men.
Oh, yeah.
There's this stigma, towards therapy, especially
Yeah.
from us men. Like that's for sissies and all that.
Yeah, we are broken, eh?
Uh.
Men are broken. You see, when the devil wanted to destroy family, he started with men. And so men are broken and we are supposed to lead our families. Imagine you are broken and you are supposed to lead.
Yeah.
That's why many of us are running away from our responsibilities. We don't want to take, responsibility for what we do wrong. And we'll rather be up and down. So therapy is very important, but also getting the right kind of therapy is very, very important.
Yeah.
Some therapies, they do not really heal you. They teach you to cope or to be strong and to other things. So the therapy that we do is about body, soul, and spirit. We cater for the total man. That's why we are saying Aruka means total healing of the total man. And that is the psychology, the thinking, the emotions, the choices that you make, and then the spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah.
When you heal the psychology of a person only, but you do not help them to recover who they truly are, it's still, a difficult one to really make a real difference. Yeah, so therapy is important for everyone, and don't wait for something to go wrong, because we have learned to cope, to adapt, and so a lot of things are wrong with us, but because we know how to cope, we think we are okay. Look for therapy even when nothing is wrong, especially when you want to bring another person in your life. Just go for therapy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You heard it all, guys. A very special or Valentine special podcast episode from pastors. Mmoloki, right?
Yeah.
Mmoloki. That's my name as well. Yeah, we have something in common. Pastor Mmoloki and Shaz Mogokgwane.
Yeah.
Talking about Valentines, Lorato, relationships, marriage, and all that. And as they mentioned, if you want to engage with them, every Sunday you go to Aruka Restoration
House of Restoration.
House of Restoration
Yes.
Church. Out in Block 9, Rainbow School. Remember, this episode is proudly brought to you by Kanako, the best and most reliable commercial and industrial equipment supplier or store. That's our main sponsor, okay? That's our main sponsor. To whoever who doesn't understand, Psychite is our venue partner. This is the most beautiful hotel in town. I don't know how do you guys feel
Yes.
about
Yeah,
it.
it looks nice.
beautiful.
I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the most beautiful place in town. Come through, guys, and see why we cannot leave this place as well. Who else? Goms the barber put me on. Yeah, that's my barber. Who else is there? Lifetime Traders Academy. They're the best Forex Academy in school, guys. They are the only BQA and HRDC accredited Forex Academy in school. Check them out, guys. Forex. It's a new year. Learn a new skill and all that. To the overviewers, thank you so much for tuning in, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of all the places that you could have been at, you choose to be here with us on our channel and our social media pages, and we appreciate you so much for that. Overview podcast. We out. This was lovely.
Yes, lovely. Thank you.
From the capital, this station is now the ultimate power in the universe.